Well, here we are, girls. We're back. It is a new year. It's January of 2025. Oh my God. Anyway, we're missing a couple of people. I think they'll probably stop in here any minute now. So, what do you guys think of the topic? Health readings.
I love it. I'm excited. I can't wait to see what we are going to dig up with all this.
Won't that be
Yeah,
fun?
Yes.
and
Yeah. Hi, Anne
and
Marie.
I'm really
Hi,
excited about it
everybody.
too because I think there are so many misconceptions around health readings and tarot. I know you've listened to me bellyache about it before, so I'm really looking forward to a deep dive with you ladies who have some experience and are not just going to be kind of flying off the back of somebody else's opinion.
Don't you think next to when am I going to die? Don't you think?
Ah,
Don't you think this is like the next most popular question that tarot readers won't answer in their ethics statement? Is anything
Yeah,
having to do with health?
and I think it's stupid. I think
I
it's
I
stupid,
agree.
and that's what I want to get into in this podcast.
Yeah.
Well, you know
And
what?
another thing people are slow to get into is pregnancy. Maybe you've done this before I arrived, but pregnancy is a big one. I find, when am I going to have a baby? Will I have a baby? Will it be a boy or a girl? That type of thing.
The funny thing is, I don't know why people don't want to answer, is it going to be a boy or a girl? I'm pregnant. Is it a boy or a girl?
Hmm.
Oh God, you have a 50-50 chance.
Yeah.
Way better than anything else.
People get hyped up, especially if they've been trying for a while and maybe
Yeah.
they're on treatment and they suddenly know, is this ever going to happen? I've been doing this for
Yeah.
3 years now. It's costing me so much. Is this ever going to happen or should I forget about it?
I would think that of all the questions out there that people would ask, I would think that, and however many times they have tarot readings, which most people don't have more than a couple of times a year usually. But I would think that would be the one answer that if you got it wrong, I was told in 1987 I would have two children. Yeah, I have none. I have two dogs, but
Well,
yeah, but yet
yes.
that's one of only two tarot readings I've had in my entire life that I remember.
Yeah,
Isn't that
Huh.
interesting?
I agree. And the people who are asking those kind of questions, someone who comes to you with that type of question, it's going to be major on their mind,
Yeah,
all consuming. There's nothing else happening in the world, or they
right.
don't care what else is happening in the world. They want this and they want it now. And their heart is open, their heart is broken really before you even answer.
Yes. Yes.
So I wanted to do this subject because here I am down from 1,500 miles south of Minneapolis, down here in the bowels of Texas.
And it's
And
cold where you are.
oh my God, was it cold last couple of days?
Yeah.
Um, anyway, I thought it was very strange that in the year that I've been reading at some of the markets and the psychic fairs or whatever, and even now that I have the shop, I'm getting young women coming in asking about their health. I never had any of that in Minnesota. I mean, I don't know if we're just healthier in Minnesota or what, but I mean, I've had women coming in with serious concerns about their health. And so and we can go around and talk about this. Everybody can give their opinion, but I'm in Kate's camp or Dee's camp. I think it's just absolutely ridiculous to not to say I'm not going to answer a question on whatever because you don't know the context of the question.
No.
And so the only thing I'm hard on are, like lottery numbers and when are you going to die? I mean, those I'll answer just about anything else, or I'll try to. But I just have learned since I've been in my shop how important questions really are to bring out of them. Let's work with them to bring them to the point of getting some answers for what they're looking for. And just yeah, how's my health? And that's it. That's not really enough for us as tarot readers to really be able to help them. And so I'm really learning
I
the
agree. And
importance.
I think that when we get an urge to rephrase the question, or someone says, "How's my health?" and you're thinking, "Oh, what should she be asking?" But I think
Yeah.
a little chat will get exactly she doesn't know what you should be asking until you start saying, you know, or why are you asking this,
Right.
or is there a special reason? And then suddenly, bit by bit, but that could, if you were one of these people who were determined not to read on health, that would be end of story now, or you would get a nice safe question to answer for her,
Right.
which would leave her no better off than she was, only feeling annoyed.
Yes.
I find
I-
that when people when people don't have a specific question, what I've started doing now, because I'm doing it on a regular basis now again, what I've started doing is saying, why don't we start with, I'm going to do a 10-card Celtic cross. It's going to give us some history. It's going to give us a little bit of information. It's going to give us a little bit of advice, but that should open up, let us know what messages Spirit's trying to get through to you. And then if something resonates with you, we can go from there and draw other cards or go deeper into that subject. And man, you know, once we've gone through the Celtic cross, now they've loosened up a little bit. Now they know how I read and what they can expect. Then they tend to be more open on, you know, coming up with stuff. And I try not to let them, you know, give me too many details. I mean, let me have something for my reading. But you know, when it comes to health issues, I think and a lot of issues, not just health, I think that we need to not rephrase their question so much as to redirect their attention and help them come up with, why are they asking that question, and see if we can break that down into pieces that we can then tackle.
What are they hoping to get from this?
Right. So
What are they hoping to
Kate,
go away with?
you started out by saying, you know, you have your way of doing it. So why don't you kind of go and explain that to us?
Okay, well, of course, as people that are familiar with me know that Jungian psychology is a big thing with me, right? So I really think that tarot is like the #1 tool for tapping into what your subconscious is. And when it comes to the ideas of health readings, now nobody is going to come to me, or if they do, they get shooed along. You know, can you tell me if I have cancer? Well, I don't know. Have you talked to a doctor? That's who you need to talk to, right? And so, I mean, our physicians and surgeons and allied health professionals, they are very, very good at dealing with the body, right? That's their specialty. But any kind of health, like serious health crisis or journey, has a lot more dimensions. And I think this is where tarot comes in. This is where tarot's strength is. There's a mental aspect to having a health crisis. There's an emotional one. There is a spiritual side to this. And helping a person acknowledge, to recognize, to think about, to kind of direct them that there are elements outside the physician's realm of the body that may have to be explored as you're going through this particular health crisis, whether it's you personally or it's a loved one, and you know, you're looking for ways in how to support and how to help. And so I think that's what a tarot reader's job is. No, I'm not prescribing medication, but I can help you deal with your fear of abandonment.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah, and you're right.
Yes.
And also just the whole fact that that so much of the anxiety I'm sorry. Let me disperse with the girls. Okay.
The welcome
Working out.
committee?
Out. Sorry. But they always do that every time I'm on. I think that we can build so much anxiety and so much, you know, worry and everything that itself can manifest into something physical. You know, that just makes the situation worse than where we already are.
If you can find me the dividing line between mind and body, you're a better woman than I am, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Your blood pressure
Exactly.
is up and you're feeling anxious, which is driving the arrow? Are you feeling anxious because your blood pressure is high, or is your blood pressure high because you're feeling anxious?
Exactly.
But you
There
know, it's
are.
and you said it yourself. It's a huge it's a huge bubble, that we're dealing with. And inside that bubble, we do have the physical, we have the diagnostic, which should be handled by somebody else. But it's being able to change that from a diagnostic into something else. And I tried to come up with the word for it and I couldn't, but it's for redirecting, it's like, look, I know I posed a question to you girls, through email, and I said, yeah, I get my biopsy results next Tuesday. Will it show that I have cancer? And I would flat out say, I wouldn't just say no to them, or I wouldn't give them an answer to that. But what I would do is, that's when I would redirect and try to say, look, only the doctor knows, only the lab knows at this point. And this is not something that tarot knows. It's not something that tarot answers. But let's take a look at your options. Let's take a look at some cards. What if it is? Where do you go from there? How do you take care of yourself? How do you get through it from there? And then let's look at, it comes back clean and you don't have cancer. Okay. So now what are you going to do about your health going forward? Are you going to, is it time to start practicing, maybe, some better self-care going forward now that you have this new, fresh start? So I'm just, that's the kind of stuff that I was thinking about. So Dee, have you run into that at all? Or have you studied anything about health readings?
Well, I don't want to be put in a situation where they're relying on me to make it better. I only want to be a guide. That's all I want to do with that. I mean, I have this big old coin. It's a yes, no coin. Yes, no. I'll tell them to hold that and then ask the question. Why are you asking the question? Why are you feeling like that? Is it coming from your gut? And when did it start? And where do you want it to go? Because, like Kate said, you can tie yourself a knot with all this. So is it mind over body or body over mind? Where is it coming from? And make them dig a little deeper before they even ask the question of me. They have to answer their own question first. Why did you get here?
Making them work for it. On a health reading, making them work for it.
They have to work for it. And they'll say, well, just throw some cards. I mean, I'm not throwing a deck of cards. You may get 1 or 3, and that's it. Less is more for those because they've already gotten themselves in their head. They've gotten themselves looking for that peace to keep them going. But I only want to encourage them to seek out what they need. They can make the decision. I don't want to be part of the decision. I just want to be help and guiding. Encourage.
Well said.
So
do you have experience with these, Anne-Marie? Have you run into these health reading issues?
What I find good is to start off really what you were saying, in other words, Lynn, to start off with a personal spread. So, before we do any tarot reading, start off with a personal spread. Start off, say, with a 9-card box. And on that, you will have a past, present, future, 3 cards. And then you will have 4 cards on top of that will be for the 4 elements. And one will be about your thoughts, the swords. One will be about your feelings. One will be about your current reality. One will be about, what one am I missing? Pentacles. Well, Pentacles is your current reality. So cups will be about your emotions. And each of those, and as you investigate each card, and you go into the thoughts section and see how are you this is, and make it that this is all about the person. It's not about their question, it's not about anything else. It's to see how they are, and to see how are you in your thoughts just now, and then see what the card says about it. And how are you in your feelings? Go with this with the wands. Or how are you, how is your current reality impacting on you right now? And by the time you have that done, and had a look at the three base cards, past, present, and future, that go through it, you have a better experience of them. They're more used to you,
Mhm.
and you're both ready then to say, well, given all that, given that this is how you're feeling, this is how you're acting, what would help you now? What question would help you now? And how can I help? And it puts both of us at our ease to a certain degree. And they've almost got a reading they weren't looking for. But at the same time, then you can move on and do your Celtic cross. Sorry, I like the 9 card and the 9 card spread for some reason. And so that's how I would go about it. But I'm not over happy, because over happy about, as Dee was saying, about giving any reply to a reading as to what's wrong with me or why am I feeling like this. I would more go for in the reading, looking if the 4 of Swords comes up, how are you minding yourself? How are you getting enough rest? Or the 9 of Swords is, and let I suppose that will come up a bit in this initial reading that I'm talking about. If you come up with the 4 of Swords or the 9 of Wands, what are you worrying about that has happened before or that might happen again? And that way you're teasing out a lot of stuff and people are ready to ask the question. But I'm not a fan at all, because even the doctors most of the time are not able to say categorically this is what's happening unless they're very, very sure. They'll be probing and minding and come back for another
That's true,
test and come back for another test. So why should you be expected just on the turn of a card to tell someone you have 3 weeks to live? Because that can become the reality if they go home.
Yeah.
It depending on what type of a person they are, but the very fact that they're coming for a tarot readings is they're looking for a soulmate. They're looking for someone to tune into them and to give them their time and attention and hear what they're saying.
And I
So if
just,
you're not saying something nice, or you're not saying something that they can relate to, they could go home and just fall
yeah.
into.
And I think there's an important point to that you just reminded me of, is this whole idea of people may not be at the point where they can verbalize their fears and concerns, right? Because there's whole things. I know when I started my health crisis thing, I had my daughter was 14 years old. And I mean, there was a real possibility that I wouldn't live long enough to see her graduate from high school. How
Mm.
do I handle that, right? Like, how am I going to protect her in case the things go bad? And she does. I mean, before she's ready to leave high school, she's lost her mother. And so at the same time, I could catch myself protecting my husband and not wanting him to let him know completely how serious things are. Having somebody that you can get comfortable enough with, and the cards help because they help bring up what's in the subconscious mind, right? That you can go, I'm worried about being abandoned, right? Because you've heard the statistics, the number of women whose husbands have left them, and then you've heard all the terrible stories on Reddit and all that. But you may not be aware that that's something that's lurking in your subconscious. And when you bring it out, then you can start talking about it, you can start processing it, you can start dealing with it. That's where our job is.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, and I agree with that, because
I
as
do.
you start probing for questions,
Yeah. Yeah.
and one of the things I've always said, the brilliance of therapy, of general therapy, is the therapist will typically ask a question that you will answer that question without even having thought about the answer. It's like, did I just say that? Is that how I didn't realize I felt that way. And that's the brilliance of that communication between the two. And I'd say, but unfortunately in our, with our crappy mental health, industry here, or not having a really good mental health um, uh, avenues for people.
Anywhere.
We as tarot readers get a lot of that, directed at us. And so I'll tell you, I have literally been embarrassed by some of the questions that or some of the situations that I've been given, even just lately. it's the seriousness of those issues. One lady that I talked to was just didn't know what to do anymore, and she just needed someone to tell her, what do I do? Where do I go now with this? And it's hard because you don't want to be, this is that ego thing. This is that sticking with the cards and trying to stay on track. But yeah, it's hard to.
But that's
It
a bit of
just,
the beauty.
by
Sorry.
ferreting out the questions, it helps bring them around. It helps give them, it helps you get in the door with things like a new direction for them or a path, right? Because we're trying to help them find the path. And
But just the fact to kind of, by using the tarot cards, by using that type of spread about, mind, body, spirit and all that, it doesn't, you're not kind of attacking them or saying, ask me a question.
mhm,
That the cards are coming up. You're just saying, look, I read these cards. These are cards that came up for you. And then I say, for example, that Four of Swords, you can kind of say about it, are you getting enough rest? Or the Nine of
right.
Swords, are you sleeping well? And it doesn't look as if you're personally interrogating them. The cards are doing it. You're just reading what the cards are saying. So it takes the real personal or judgmental influence out of it. I find they're saying, well,
Yeah.
she didn't really come up with that question. The card came up with it. Or if you come up even with the high priestess, who seems kind of innocuous, she's not going to do much harm, you think, the high priestess, but you think of it, looking at her, what kind of secrets are you holding on to that are causing you problems at this stage, that are causing you sleepless nights? What is it that you're trying to hide from somebody
Or what
and
are you
prevent
trying to
it?
hide in your own unconsciousness? What's,
Exactly. Hide from
what's in the
yourself
back of
even.
your head that's feeding your negative emotions and anxiety issues about
Exactly.
this? Yeah.
Exactly. And sometimes when even yourself, the ideas you have in your head, the problems you have, once you talk them, once you verbalize them, as Dee was saying, you can't believe you said this. So that's really, you nearly know half the answer yourself, because you're saying, who would say something like that? The obvious thing is. So by the time you get to the real reading,
Yeah,
you have half the work done, and they're
that's right.
feeling comfortable. And the really is to be that the biggest problem I find is to put a, what would you say, something on your mouth to stop mouthing, about saying too much, to give people a chance to react, even
Yeah.
if it means silence. I find the silence, something is being very obvious to you in the cards. Now, if you rush in and say, are you getting enough sleep or something? Why not, say gently about the card, this is about maybe this man is not getting enough sleep. Let them come to you with it rather than you saying to them, are you not getting enough sleep? And
I,
then
I
shut
always
up
tell
then and
them,
let people say,
I share with them what the card could mean. I learned this
hmm,
from Christiana Gaudet. She
hmm,
said, if you don't know where, what the card mean, if you're confused by what this card means for them, give them
hmm,
all the meanings of the card and ask them which one resonates.
exactly, yeah,
This is a message from spirit. Let me help you figure out what messages they're trying to get through to you. Why did this card come up? I ask that question a lot.
yes,
Why do
I
you
like
think
that.
this card
I like
came
that
up for
idea.
you?
Yeah.
And
What does
let
it
them,
mean for
give
you?
them a moment to come up with it. There's a game that's really very, very it's real successful. It works really well. It is the what's the worst thing that can happen game. Have you guys ever played that?
Yes, I can't say that I like it, but however, I believe it's
It's
very
better with
effective.
kids,
I
but
get annoyed halfway through it,
I
but it
know,
is
but
good.
it's
It
like,
is good.
okay, what is the worst thing that can happen? Like in your situation, right? What's the worst thing that could happen? The test result comes back negative. Okay, you got a negative test result. What's the worst thing that can happen from a negative test result? Well, I'd have to take time out of my life to go in and have treatments, and I'm afraid of hospitals. I'm afraid of doctors. Okay, so you have to go into the hospital and get a treatment. What's the worst thing that could happen in that hospital? And you get it down to where, yeah, it just gets so ridiculous that they realize that, okay, all these fears and stuff, it's something they've piled on top of each other. And it really lightens things up a little bit. Or it does bring out the true fear.
Are there true fear? And even adding on to that, I thought you were going to say, you have another column then, and you'd say, what's the best thing that could happen?
See, I've
And
never done
sometimes
that, but that's brilliant too.
that you end up with, maybe
Yeah.
you end up with 10 very bad things, and they run out of 10 bad things when the last thing they say is, I could die or something. They
Yeah.
can't get any further. And you could even take it further than that if you want to. But then you start with what's the best thing that could happen?
Yeah.
And what would be the best thing that could happen? And sometimes they look and you see they've got 10 bad things and a page and a half of good things, and they
Right.
suddenly realize, where am I going with this?
Well, that's why I said, I like to use option spreads. I do that a lot and say, well, okay, so the diagnosis comes back, it's cancer. Let's take a look at what that would look like, what your day moving forward, your path would look like. And let's say it comes back, negative. What would that path look like? What would you do differently now? And it's just having that conversation and being able to come up with those questions. And I think that that's really important. So let me ask you, let me take a side trip here for a moment. Do you believe that the deck matters? Do you believe that the kind of deck that you use, or if for a health reading, would you pull out a different deck than maybe what you just happen to have in front of you, or not?
Yes.
I do.
I generally use the Chakra Healing Tarot
Mhm.
by Melanie Logan because I trained in yoga, and the chakras mean a lot to me, and they help me make sense of things. If it is a particular sensitive, like really tense, you can tell the person is emotionally at the end of the line, trash Panda Tarot, because the pandas, it's kind of comical, it's very lighthearted, they're non-threatening, there's no people in it. And so if somebody's, and that's something I do want to talk about a little bit later, is not just physical health that we've been talking about, but also we can be dealing with people who are survivors of abuse or something like that. And I think that tarot can be very helpful. I think it was Anne Marie said about not being judgmental, right? So it's the cards, not somebody done. Anyways, we can talk about that later. But
A
those are the
lot of
two
the time,
decks that
sorry,
I kind of pull quickly.
a lot of the time, people who come to you are tired. They ask their parents, or they ask their siblings, or they ask their companions. They've asked this question of them, and like that story, they're getting, oh, this is stupid, or it has been knocked back at them so many times. They're not being really heard. What they're saying isn't being heard, and this is what they're looking for. Someone who doesn't know them and takes the situation at face value.
Yeah, well, like that's essentially the first. This is a 5-card draw, and the first question is how do I validate my experiences? And this is about dealing with that whole where your experiences have been trivialized, or you haven't been believed, or something along that line. And it's to get them to have an opportunity to express how this was for them and not how it was supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. For me, I like to switch. I tend to switch to a more serious deck. I love the idea though of staying with a lighter deck just to keep them even keel. It does depend on how they come to you because I
Yeah.
mean I've had people sit down and need a Kleenex before they even start.
Yep.
But I like Osho Zen. I feel like it's a more serious deck and again, I like pictorial decks because they can look at the deck and they can see and they can say, I can relate to what I see. And, there's pros and cons to that, I know. But so this is, here's the Eight of Swords. That's the Eight of Swords. I
Mhm.
have, this is 11. Breakthrough is for them. What is that? 11 of okay, so that'd be like the justice card. I know it's hard to see in this
Yeah.
I got too much light. 10 of wands. 10 of wands, they have it as suppression. As so hard. There you go, suppression. So it's just because it's a little different, it's not your standard, definitely not your standard deck, but But it just, to me, it helps me get through to them on some of the stuff. Dee, what do you do? Do you do different on a deck, or do you use the same?
No, I look for something, actually, I look like mystical moments,
Yeah.
that beautiful deck where they can see the color, the facial, whatever's in it. But something else I do pull in, and that's an oracle deck. I have several. I don't even have one next to me now, but I'll bring in oracle only because it's a different way to give them an interpretation. And what do oracles do? Kind of spread it out, get them out of their tunnel vision. And I have some really magical ones that I will use. The other thing is, I feel I can do a better job if I just use the majors. I don't use the minors. And because there's more to that card. And like you say, if you're not sure what it is, give them all of it.
Yeah.
And to me, I can spread that out and give them more information according to why they're coming in and asking the question. Why do I feel like this? What do I need to know? And we all know the question doesn't come the right way. There's more behind it when they first approach you. And that's why I try to keep it bigger colorful card, or something that doesn't have a whole lot of darkness in it. Beautiful card. And then an oracle that just does nothing but pull them up,
Enhances
encourage
too.
them.
Yeah.
And so they look at it a different way. But at the same time, I'm hoping that encouragement says to them, hey, get your butt in gear, go take care of yourself. Come on.
So, but you said something, doesn't perspective have so much to do with this? How they perceive themselves and their health situation. And I love the idea of majors only, because
Majors
if
only
somebody comes
sounds-
to you with a health reading, or for a health reading,
Mhm.
that's a major thing for them. And we know the majors to be, the life lessons, in the deck. And you're right, because the minors, I mean, if somebody has a real serious, question, and you end up picking, the Two of Pentacles. It's not that
Right.
the Two of Pentacles is a bad card. It's just that it so minimizes their situation. It's like, well, you obviously have a balance between your health and your illness. It's
Yeah.
like, but Anne Marie, do you have a particular deck that you like, or?
Do you know, I have, I generally feel most comfortable with the Rider Smith deck,
Right.
but I feel for someone a bit more vulnerable, or someone that's not looking out for these hearts and swords and that type of thing, or the 10 of wands that are lying, or the 10 of swords that are lying down, someone who's going to tune into the pictures too much and is already vulnerable. I quite like that deck that you told me about, that Cozy Witch.
Oh yeah,
That has little sayings on it, and
really
it takes
soft. There's your oracle tucked
Yeah.
right into the tarot card.
nice
Cozy
and
Witch.
soft and gentle, and I like that with it. And somebody mentioned to me recently about, and I've resisted getting this for whatever reason, I don't know. I've just decided I'm not buying any more decks, and that's probably when I take delivery of 2. But someone said that the Light Seers Oracle, the Light Seers deck, I've
Oh,
been
I
hearing
love that
a lot
one.
about that.
Oh,
Do you
I-
like that?
I have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I have it. I've used it. It reads really well for me,
It
but
does.
it just doesn't do anything for me. I don't know. It's just too modern.
I've-
It's
I
not
I've
my
looked at it.
style.
I even went in. I went in yesterday, the day before, to our local shop, and I took it out of the packet and I looked through it, and nothing was speaking to me in it. But I'm meeting everybody now saying this is what everyone should have, one of these Light Seers. Oh my God, the colors and everything. But it's not doing it for me. But anyway, the Cozy Witch is the one that if I thought someone was vulnerable, um, or wouldn't like the what you see in some of the cards. Even the devil, someone coming up looking at the devil in the ordinary cards. If you're feeling already a bit shaky and you see a few of these cards coming up, so, or say the Tower, and you don't really know what they mean, but I mean, and if you see the tower and the devil in your thing, straight away you're knocked, and you're only half believing what I might say about the tower, just meaning what's working, what you have at the moment isn't working. New foundations, and you will rock it. But if I think that's going to, if I think they're vulnerable, I would go with the cozy witch, because that's relatable. Plus the fact, the little bit of advice they're getting, again, is not from me, what I know about the cards,
Yeah, it's
although
from the
that will
card.
come afterwards. But you're reading what's on the cards, and then you can expand.
Right.
Mhm,
You know,
mhm.
it's somebody
Hey,
struck me as I
Kate,
was sorry.
Yeah,
what was the chakra deck that you said you use? What was the
it's
name of it?
the Chakra Healing Deck by Malamir Logan.
Okay,
Mm.
I'm
I'll
gonna.
send you the particulars on it so you can put it in the show notes.
Yeah, I'm putting all. I'll do
Yeah.
something in the description of the video so that we have all these. May I show you a deck that I found that I thought looked pretty cool?
Wow.
I've got it up here on the screen. Here we go. It's called the Healing Tarot: 78 Ways to Wellness.
Oh wow, that looks cool.
Yeah, and it looks like a black and white deck, but it has I'm sure that the book, would really helps a lot. And I haven't had a chance to look at the pictures. Oh, look at the Seven of Pentacles. You have choices on what you eat. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
But I found it here through Healing Through Tarot. So it's healingthroughtarot.com.
Yeah.
And
Right.
but and I think I found it on Etsy. I couldn't find it on Amazon, but I did find it on Etsy, and I will put that one in. I'll put that one down in the notes as well. So, 78 ways. So I thought that was interesting because it's specifically for healing, and
I
I
just
think it
wanted
was
to
written by a
take on
psychologist.
like our previous conversation that we were having there about as Dee said, she uses the majors.
Mhm.
That is like a lot of the Jungian tarot.
Yeah.
That's what they use, is because each one of the major kind of lines up with the Jungian archetype, and the minor's not so much. So
Mhm.
there is an established tradition within tarot readings. If you're using, kind of a strong Jungian bent, is to go with that whole idea of just using your majors.
Mhm.
And
Well,
do you
my
know,
fear
do you know
was
what-
if I
sorry.
had someone who wanted to ask the question about something medical and the Ten of Swords came up, I just thought, no way. I am not going to put myself on in that situation, because
Yeah.
they look at that and the death, and even the death card in the majors, they'll look at that and it'll say, put that to an end. Why are you there?
Yeah.
But the devil did come up, and I had someone actually, and it was the devil from the Rider-Waite, who said, but I hurt right there. I thought, okay, that works
And
for
this
me.
is why I like the trash pandas, because I don't know if you can see it there.
Yeah,
There is
we can.
the
Oh,
death card, right? And
yeah.
it's done in this kind of cartoonish
Yeah, kind of
kind
hard to
of
take
thing.
that site seriously when it's being held by a bandit-looking panda.
Yeah, a raccoon on a lily pad, and the other one I was looking for but
There you
haven't
go.
managed to find yet is and it goes back to that whole idea of no judgment, right?
Yeah.
That I'm not judging
That's so
them.
important.
This
Right.
is
So important.
yeah.
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 I like,
And
By the
again,
way,
making it all about you, just to say, look, this is all about you. Just steer them away from asking about anything about anybody else. And
yeah.
just say, this
right,
is all about you. Tonight is all about you.
right.
But of
You know
course,
what I
some
was
of
just
their
thinking?
concerns that they might have are actually how it's going to impact the people around them,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
And I know that was a huge part for me when, that some guy with more letters behind his name than the words in it was saying, well, yes, you're most likely going to be dead within 5 years.
Mhm.
So that was that
Mm.
kind of, I
That's
paid
it. That's
attention.
yes, yes,
I would have
yes.
asked for a clarifier.
Yeah.
You would.
Do you know, do you
You
know
asked
what
for
I
a
was
clarifier
just,
of everything.
what I was just thinking of just as we're talking there. I've never done this, but it just struck me when Kate was talking about the majors. If you come up with a major, and then I wonder if you were to go then to pull the four cards that are the same number as the majors. Say 9. What's 9? What's 9 in the majors is
The Hermit.
the hermit, isn't it? I wonder, it might be crazy to pull the 2 of the 4 different suits and see how is that affecting you. When you've done your bit on the majors, to see, how is it affecting you, mind, body, spirit, and in your current situation. I'll have to try it out. That only occurred to me as I was looking at them here, that it might be another way of going into the different areas that they could be affected by whatever it is.
Well,
Mind,
and of
body,
course,
spirit.
Anne Marie, you can do that with spreads, as well.
Yeah.
I only found 2 that, and they were very similar. I only found 2 that really, I don't know, really resonated with me. One was really simple. It was just looking at the current health situation, the potential origins, areas of concern, positive factors, steps to take, and overall direction of your well-being. But the other one was the current health state, representing your overall physical and mental state at the moment, underlying causes, what might be contributing to any current health concerns, whether physical or emotional factors, potential challenges, potential obstacles related to your health that may arise, positive aspects of health, areas or positive aspects to focus on. What are the positives here for you? Necessary actions, what you can do to improve your health and overall outlook, the general direction, for your immediate future. I mean, all good questions, obviously.
It's a lot, isn't
I'll
it,
tell you what
Lynn?
I think is
A
really,
lot.
what I really liked hearing was, Anne Marie, your take on, the elements, going, how are you
Mm.
feeling? What's your
Yeah,
energy
I
level?
like that.
What are
I
you
like that whole
thinking?
thing.
What's the,
Because
what's
where is it
grounding
hitting,
you? The pentacles, that could be what's grounding you,
and
that.
where is it hitting you the most? That way you might end up, and they might end up at the end of that, knowing which area they're having problems with.
See, that's
Which,
what I was thinking.
are they
It's like,
suffering emotionally, or is it something
Mhm.
they're thinking of, catastrophizing about something? So you could nearly knock out maybe the other 3 if there's one that needs to be focused on, and
right.
then see how it balances out in the next spread. See, are you getting an unequal amount of cards one way or the other, an equal amount of cups or swords or whatever. But I love
And
that.
that could that could also work well with a 9-card box for a body, mind, spirit,
Mhm.
Yes, yes,
Mhm.
yes.
as
And
well.
I do like that was a spread I came across. I haven't got it here now, but it I'm not sure what they called it. But again, with those 4 elements, there's 9 cards in this spread. I'm trying to think what were the other cards, because you've got 4 and 3 or 7. Ah, right, yes. 4 and 3 or 7. It ends up as a 9-card box, but the 3 central ones are my past, present, and potential future. So you see, how are you now?
Yeah.
And what's kind of either moving out of your life, or what is it in your life that contributed to how you are now, and what might the future look like for you. And the other 2 cards then that go top and bottom, like, would be, I think someone called them your conscious, what you're conscious of in this situation, and what you're unconscious of in this situation. But you could make it what to do and what not to do, or something like that. But I thought the whole thing together, it just felt as if it was covering a lot of ground, but very
Mhm.
personal. And then you can move on to maybe a smaller spread, or the same size spread, about the actual question they have in mind.
Right. So are we all pretty much in agreement that if somebody comes to us and, and all right, why am I so depressed lately? Why have I been so depressed? Boy, that's a big one for somebody that's never met you before. That's a big
Mhm.
question. Um, but in order to break that down, I mean, you need to be able to say, well, let me ask a few questions and get a better feel for where you've been, or what's been going on with you, or what makes you come to this conclusion, or whatever. It's hard in the moment, unless you do a lot of these. It can be really, really hard in the moment to come up with questions. I find that I too struggle sometimes with that when, you know, somebody sits down and they lay out this whole scenario for me and I'm going, okay, we need to break this down into bite-sized pieces. You know, where do I start? And if I may show just for people watching too, if I can show you something I just now did while Anne Marie was talking, is I went into, I love AI. You know how I love AI. I went to
Yes.
AI and I asked the question, what are some health questions that a client might ask a tarot reader? And it came up, here's general health and wellness questions, specific health concerns. And I just wanted to show you, I use gemini.google.com, but just to ask, or just to do that, you could go to that, pull up questions and dive in and ask, say, oh, now give me more like this, or give me more about that. And get yourself a list of 50 questions. And then as an exercise to, you know, to get your mind going in the right direction, sit down and take each one of those and break those down into 10 questions you might ask them, you know, to parse that out more. And so that when you do get hit with that, you're kind of, you know where to go with that. It's like, okay, these might be, you might find after doing that with, 10 or 20 or 50 questions, you might find that here are the 5 main things that I would want to know from them before I moved forward on this reading. You know, here's the 5
I
main
would
things
agree.
that
You
really
need to
need
get
to be
down to
answered.
a small number of questions.
Right, 5,
And encourage the people then to, I think the danger is to move off that current, past, present, future, maybe to move off that present, to let them away too lightly about what's going on in the present. If they kind of say, oh, I'm not feeling great now. I mean, I used to be always going out and in great order, and suddenly they're not. Well, maybe not let them away with that. Maybe say,
Right.
all right, tell me a bit more of that.
Yeah.
And then, by the time you have expanded that a bit, you mightn't have to ask that many. It would be nice to have that bank of questions,
Yeah.
but if you press them, most people will kind of, because everyone is so different, even
Sure.
everyone with the same symptoms, the same questions won't apply to them because we're all so different. But if you can really expand that one, because the present is really where they're concerned with, that's how they're feeling the most. That's
But like I
what they're
said,
feeling the
by
most.
doing an exercise, by sitting down, and the only reason I
Mm.
brought up AI is so that you could have enough questions
Mm.
to play with. But to sit down and play with those and try to figure out in your own mind how can I help them by, how can we figure out, or lay the cards out, use the question, lay the cards out, and see if you can figure out how to break that down into more manageable pieces, to determine if it's spiritual or if it's, if it's body, mind, or spirit, is what I meant to say.
Right.
And to try to determine. Anyway, it's a way to open your own
Yes.
mind on to how to
Yeah.
help them.
Yeah.
And
I
to
think
give
we've
yourself some
already
type of a
kind of
structure.
Right.
I think we've already kind of talked about, about helping them find the words to articulate what
Mhm.
they possibly haven't articulated even to themselves. And this
Yes.
is what I really found attractive about this spread for the survivors of trauma and abuse, right? Which is related to health, kind of tangentially. And we went through the first question, which was, how do I validate my experiences, and talking
Yes.
about how people think. The second one here, how is this experience affecting me? And that really ties in with what you're talking about,
Yes.
Anne-Marie,
Yeah, the
about
mental.
being in the present moment.
Mhm.
How do I
Yes.
let go of blame was one of the third question in it, because a lot of victims blame themselves. If I hadn't annoyed him, if I hadn't done this, blah blah, if I hadn't ate that, whatever. Fourth question: how do I start to heal? And it's the I, not how can we heal you, but it's this idea that this is within me, right? And then the last one, what support do I need? And it really gives us an opportunity to bring through that you're not on your own. You don't have to be. Maybe you've got medical people, maybe you've got a therapist, maybe you've got family, maybe you've got church, maybe you've got this, maybe you've got whatever.
Mhm.
This or what is available to you, and what do you need? Do I need someone to look at? I need to feel nourished. I need to feel comforted. I need to be believed. whatever the circumstances are.
Yeah.
And it helps them come to be able to articulate that.
Yeah, they're nice questions now, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're kind of helpful. What struck me as well, you could expand on any of those. You could take one of those as a core question and expand on that. For example, when you were saying, how do I let go of blame? Is that what I have here? Oh, how do I let go of blame? Wouldn't it be interesting to know who are you blaming and why? You know, are you blaming yourself? Are you blaming your Uncle Sam over there? Who are you blaming? Get them to think in their own mind. Who am I blaming, and why do you think they? You know, why are you blaming them? And they might find that there's nothing to forgive them for. There's no blame to forgive them for. That from where they were acting from a good. I don't know. There's a lot involved in it,
there
but I
is.
just think that it would help them tease out because
Sure.
how do I let go of blame? I'm just thinking to myself, what blame and
Yeah.
who?
Mhm, mhm.
So let me ask you this, gals. I asked you, in an email, if you had cards. I mean, if you're going to do a health reading, are there specific cards that you would have to see? And I'm kind of thinking, remember that whole tarot oracle thing that we did? Well, Anne Marie, you weren't in. We hadn't brought you in yet, but there's this guy named Tarot Oracle, and he and he has his stuff really laid out, very specific. And he says, there has to be these 7 cards, all have to be there if this situation is going to be like that. It was very strange, but it was cool. But anyway, I was thinking about there's a lot of negative cards. There's a lot of things that we can come up with, and the 10 of swords. One of those for the 10 of swords would be a chronic condition or overwhelm. And of course, the advice would be that they need to let go. They need to let go, and it's over. It's like the worst has happened, is how I see that card. But I was thinking about the positive cards. So if you were to get like the Wheel of Fortune, that could be things turning up. I thought that was positive. And one of the things I liked was the Chariot being this is moving in the right direction, because the Chariot is moving in the right direction, moving forward.
And also the Chariot is taking care of yourself, starting, taking your own health into your own hands and finding out what you can do about it.
Right.
Rather than waiting for the doctor. Sorry, I'm forever.
No, you're right.
Well, the Chariot could also mean you're going to be in a car accident. I'm just kidding.
Okay, Dee, let's pull a clarifier and see which one it is. No, you could though. I hate to say it, but you could pull it, listen to this. Listen, it's just these are just a couple that I found that I thought were really interesting. Another positive one is the Page of Cups, youthful energy. So, that could be something that could be coming. But what do you think of this one? 7 of Cups. You're thinking about it, but you're not doing it. So how can I live healthier in 2025? And you get the 7 of Cups, quit thinking about that, about eating clean and start doing it. So, some of this stuff I thought was, yeah.
Start making your lists, maybe.
The Tower could be a health scare or a medical emergency.
Or you've lost your balance.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. That's true. And also 8 of Swords, you've got, if it could be a physical ailment that is restricting mobility, but I also like it for, looking at your limitations, taking the blinders off and taking a serious look at what limitations you do have, because oftentimes we blame ourselves for things that we just can't do. And we need to understand our limitations and not expect so much of ourselves.
Yeah, because when you think of your 8 of Swords there, she's standing, all the swords are behind her.
Yeah.
So her head is wrecked, but
Yep.
her way forward, if you took off her eye mask, her way forward is clear if she just decided to look at it.
Right. Kate.
I've got up the 8 of Cups, and I think it's important, these kind of things, is expressing, and once again, back to not being judged, this idea that this can be a lonely road. This can be an isolating experience, when you're going through this kind of a process. It's all right. You don't have to put on a brave face, or you don't have to, there is no way you will have to react to this, right? That this is very individual, and sometimes this is a very lonely road to trod. And it's okay to think that's got the ick, because it does.
Yes, I get it. Five of Pentacles.
5 of Pentacles. Oh,
It's
yes, I don't like that now. I
an
must say.
illness with a message asking for help. That could be the message of the card, asking for help, because in the 5 of Pentacles, that individual out in the snow, out in the cold, is not alone. Right?
No, it means ask for help.
Yeah.
But the individual out in he's not alone.
Right.
He's not getting much.
No.
He's not getting much help from his other partner either. The two of them look one as miserable as the other.
Okay, Debbie Downer.
Are you asking? I'm just. Are you asking? Are you asking the right people? Same question, but are you going to the right people?
Right.
Is it the blind leading the blind?
Right.
Because the light is behind him, the light of help is behind him, but he's following this person in front who's a downer. So if you're going to go to someone who's a pessimist, and if you're going to have that as your companion,
you're not going to get very far.
Oh, so look for it. So it could be exactly what you're saying, Lynn. Just look for the right help in the right places.
Exactly.
That could be. 5 of Swords, you're going to have a real hard fight ahead of you. It could be the hard fight, but once you get through that hard fight, it could be. Or how do I get through? You might get the Hierophant. Say, well, you need professional help. That could stand for professional help as well. And professional help could be clergy as well as medical professionals. But Hermit could be depression, and calling for a need for some self-care, something like that. But yeah, the whole Death card, let it go, move on. It's inevitable, that you're going to have to let go of your worries, or depending on what, they're coming to you for. But I'm still on the depression question. Why am I so depressed lately? There's just a lot of things. And even with the devil, if you're talking about somebody that doesn't have healthy, I mean, the devil comes up for someone that doesn't have healthy habits. That could just
addiction, right?
It's addiction, but it could also just be unhealthy habits and a need to gain some healthier habits for yourself.
Even as far as some silly muggies who stay up watching YouTube all night for hours, or watching Midsummer Murders or things like that they nearly all know off by heart. It could be a thing of, look, do something positive and get away from that. Something as simple as that.
You don't think binge watching Instagram and YouTube videos is a healthy thing? What, are you kidding?
Well, it depends on what time of the day or night you're doing it. The hours go by very quickly at night, because there's nothing to stop you doing it. You don't have to break for dinner, lunch, or anything.
Well, if you're in a room that you don't have a window, you don't look out, you don't know when it's day or night. I'll just keep coming at you.
And these people know so much. You're finding so much information. For example, that ten of Swords. Where's my 10 of Swords gone? What struck me recently, what someone came up with last night on that, is when people look at the card, ask them what's their focus. Their focus immediately is on that poor man lying down with the bad back and the swords in it. But he said, look beyond that. What you're really seeing is the sunrise, that big burst of sunrise that tells you that what's beyond those swords, when that bit is over, you're really heading into a beautiful, potential beautiful time.
Yeah.
Doesn't help you with the bad back at the time, but however.
Yeah, you're right.
3 of Swords. 3 Swords could be a heart-related issue, right? I mean, not that I would want to you know,
No, you wouldn't
I'm
like
not
to.
diagnosing. I would
But-
use that probably,
Or it's
but
just a very emotional, right?
right.
Mo-
That
And the Five of Cups, we have the sadness of the Five of Cups, but that could just be, grief or emotional pain that can manifest itself physically if you don't keep it in check. And so that's like a stress related issue. If it came up like somebody wanted to talk about their health, and I want to do a Celtic cross first because I want to see what's in the cross. To me, that tells me a lot because I want to know what the subject is. I want to know what subject spirit wants me to focus on. To me, that's the center card. And then what's below that is the foundation. How did we come up to this subject in the first place? And then we have, what's on the querent's mind and what's what energy's leaving. And to me, that helps me tremendously in moving forward in a reading. And so I like to focus on that. But if the Five of Cups came up in that kind of a reading, I would go, oh, okay, this must be more of this is a stress related issue, or it's causing a lot of stress, more so than what's healthy. So
Or what situation are you resisting? What change are you resisting? That you don't want to change the current
True.
state of affairs. The three are there, and you're saying, let's not rock the boat. What are you resisting? What are you trying not to see that is causing you mental anguish?
yeah, that's very good. I like
Yeah.
it. So, in my search for a lot of stuff, and Kate and I were talking about this earlier, and listen, I binge watched a bunch of health questions or health readings on YouTube, and frankly, I was so disappointed in how they how bad they were. They weren't health, at the end of the day, it's like they kept coming back to the basic meanings of the cards, but they really weren't addressing the issues, and they weren't trying to help, ferret out what the next thing is. But there were very few I found, but one thing I did find, and I wanted to share it with everybody. Let me see here. Where are we? Share. Let me see. Screen. That's you guys. Okay. Well, I'm going to come back here and go to this. Okay. So I found this website, Persifal's Wheel Tarot and Astrology, and in it she has. And I think this is a psychologist or a PhD or somebody who's written this. But if you search health over here, a whole bunch of her reading stuff comes up on health assessment, health issues, wellness readings. I'm going to tell you something. She's really brilliant. She is, to me, almost. Oh, I told Kate, I said she's so philosophical that it's way above me to some degree. But I really feel like this is I'll put this down below.
Yeah, RSIFILS.
But it's really amazing, and I think it's so worth taking a look at that and doing some of her reading. It will challenge you. It will challenge you because she's so she goes so far down the rabbit hole, and the whole psychology of the thing. But it's really mind opening. It's almost mind bending on some of the stuff that I've read from her, and I think it would be worth it. It would really help. Hi, Yvonne. We're glad
Hey,
we're glad to see
Hi,
you.
Yvonne.
I snuck in.
Yeah. Well, we're getting ready to close up, but
I figured that much, but I thought maybe I'd just come pop in and say hello at the very least.
well, I'm so glad that you did. How's the weather on you're on the coastline in Washington State.
I am, and the weather, it's been chilly, but it's not been anything like the rest of the country. But I was listening to the news this morning, and I think we're going to get blasted like in February. First, within a couple of weeks, we'll get our share.
Yeah. Well, I hope we don't have any more. It was 20 degrees with like a 15 wind chill. And I know that sounds silly to like Dee, because you were at minus 19 day before yesterday.
Yes.
And
yes.
But in Minnesota, we were prepared for that. Down here, I listen to this, guys. I actually made the 6 o'clock and 10 o'clock news on CBS down here, local CBS channel, because I reported to the channel that the local Mission Animal Humane Society, they're all outdoor runs, kennels for these dogs. I went in to take in blankets and towels and more food and tarps, and everything inside was bare. I said, where are all the kennels inside here? Oh, management came in and told us we needed to, everything had to be outside. And so I reported it because I was really upset by that. If, you know, the most vulnerable animals should have been brought in or kept inside because, and even when they did the interview, they interviewed the veterinarian there who said, I have to decide which ones go inside and which ones don't. But she said, we probably will have some that won't make it. And it just made it hard for me to sleep nights. I'm such a dog lover, you know, so.
Yeah,
So
that's
I'm glad
heartbreaking.
that, yeah, we had 2 really, really bad days. And so I'm hoping now that things will turn around for us. We're at 53. Our normal high here is 72. So it's cold down here, but
Yeah,
look what happened. Houston, 5 inches of snow downtown. New Orleans, 8 inches of snow in New Orleans. Go figure, you know.
in Florida. What the heck?
Yeah, it's really crazy. So
And we are battening down tomorrow. A whole countrywide alert is on tomorrow for Storm Ewan. And apparently there are going to be horrific winds. And this is all over the news now. Shops, schools, transport, everything is stopped. Here, all over Ireland tomorrow. Nothing is moving. And people are working from home. And we're told not to put our head out from at least 2 a.m. tonight, Thursday. It will be strongest until about 2 a.m. tomorrow.
Isn't that something?
they
See,
do
it's
not move.
worldwide because you're in Ireland and you've had it bad up in New Brunswick too, right? So in Canada.
Well, you know, it's my husband and I were saying the other day, oh my God, it's like the winter of our childhoods,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
Because it has changed so much in the past 30, 40 years
That's
that,
something.
you know, it's like, I remember when it was like this. Yeah.
And
Mhm.
we've just had, come to think of it, we're heading into this storm tomorrow. And just about a week or more ago, we were snowed in here. We were iced in here. Like we couldn't get down the driveway with the ice. Now, if you could get out on the main roads, fine. But to get down a driveway and along a side road was impossible. So for a full week, we couldn't move out of
Which
here.
is why I no longer live in snow country. Yvonne, I know that you don't have the benefit. You'll have to go back and watch the video. I know you won't have the benefit of all the stuff that we've talked about, but is there parting words here? Is there anything, any experience that you have with health readings or any advice you could give aspiring tarotists that
Well,
you,
I have not had anyone come. Well, that's not true. Okay, I have had one client who came, and it was more along the lines of asking, should I get a second opinion? And that, you know, that question, I don't need tarot cards to tell me the answer to that one. But you know, I am a tarot reader, and the person asked, and yeah, if they're asking questions to that nature, sure, I think you can throw down cards and tell them that, yeah, you know, it looks like, yeah, you should get, you know, depending on what the cards say. But I mean, most likely, Spirit and the cards are going to say, yeah, get a second opinion if you have doubts. Um, I don't, I don't have that much experience as far as, you know, people coming and asking me those questions, but I would imagine that if someone did come to me and ask me, I would say seek, before even going into the cards, I'd probably say, you know, logic would have it seek professional help. But let's look at what the cards have to say, you know, in regards to that. But
we all kind of agreed, you know, Yvonne, that you know, we're not going to turn down the question. I mean, we're going to answer, but maybe to redirect them with trying to dig deeper into why they're asking.
yeah, why are you even asking? It's like, listen to your body. Your
Yeah.
body's not going to lie to you. And,
Right.
and that would be kind of maybe the question would be posed differently. You know, like someone were to come to you and say, you know, I I have a health issue, or I feel I'm feeling sick, I don't know what to do, then maybe repose, pose a question as just that. I'm not feeling balanced. How can I find my balance?
Sure.
And maybe do a reading based on that,
Right.
and then kind of help them to find their way.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for being here. We've had a really, really great last year doing this. People seem to really like it, and hopefully we will continue on through 2025. All of the decks we've talked about, and some of the spread issues and things we've talked about, I will post all that down below in the video so that they're all there for everybody to go and look at, and the sites and what have you. So. Anyway, everybody, take care. We have, I don't have my list out, doggone it, for what we were gonna do. Do you guys, anybody have that? I don't know if you have that still. Anne Marie, you usually always have a note. What was
Yeah,
next?
I do have that. I do have that, but where is it?
Well, there's
Madam
the
Secretary,
important question,
please.
'cause, yeah, I know right where mine is, but it's gonna take me longer to get it than what we
We'll
have
just see,
left.
would it ever be in the Lynn folder?
Oh God, that'd be a fat folder. I'm always the queen of too much information here,
And really getting
would
into
intimidate
Christmas
people,
period.
but
Anyway, it doesn't appear. I think I have another, I was going very well with all this tidying and everything.
well,
Okay.
if we can't find it, I'll post it. In
Yeah,
the
but I,
description,
as I
what's
say,
next.
I do have it because we were looking, we were talking, in fact, we spoke about it the last time we were here, didn't
Yeah,
we? Our last meeting, but anyway, it has hidden its head somewhere.
okay. Well, for people that are watching this video, please give it a thumbs up if you're so inclined, because that's how people find us, and that tells us if you liked this topic or not, and we'll keep, hey, don't hesitate to give us ideas, and because you inspire us to inspire you. So
Hey, one moment, interrupting everything. News flash. November, Kings of the Court. December, year-end readings. January podcast, health readings, where we are now. February podcast, 3-card interpretations.
Oh yeah, we're gonna go back because everybody really liked that. Everybody really liked it. So I'll find some questions for you guys and toss them out there, and then you guys can, that's where we all pull, we all pull 3 cards on it, and we read our cards to that question, and we see where we differ and where we're alike. That'll be fun.
It'll be
And
fun.
I think
It's
you were
always
also
fun.
saying, I think you were also saying, to add to that, to take one card, each time to take a card like the Aces or the Hermit, and have a chat about that, just one card at the end of all. Or you just,
Yeah,
that's what I
we'll
think
take a
you were
look at
saying.
that too. All
We
right,
could take
guys.
one. Okay.
Love seeing you, everybody. You take care, and we'll see you next month.
Okay.
Right.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.